Hey everyone, I am Olivier, also known as The Mystical on YouTube, where we record virtual reality news and virtual reality review videos. Today, I'm here recording a panel on pro sports in VR. We've got some fantastic panelists with us here today, so if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jakub Burdajewicz. I'm a CEO of Curious Games, the studio behind the Slap Fighter VR. It's a cinematic VR fighting game inspired by a real slap fighting federation competitions. I'm also a slap fighting championship SFC owner. So this is one of the world top slap fighting federations. So I'm bringing unique dual perspective from both real-world combat sports and immersive game development. And our mission always to do a fun stuff, the stuff that is fun to watch and intensive to play.
Hello everyone, I'm Aslan. I'm co-founder and CEO of Teleporter, the studio behind Merlin's Chess. And Merlin's Chess is VR native, a fantasy VR chess game, inspired by Harry Potter's Wizard Chess and Battle Chess and all the fantasy and magical elements. And we are trying to bring a new approach and a new way to play chess inside VR, with everyone around the world. And we also integrate with chess.com so you can play 200 million chess.com players around the world. So we are super excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. James Stafford. I am the head of business development for VR studio Incisiv. We are best well known for being the creators of Clean Sheet Soccer, which is a virtual reality goalkeeping game. We have over 150,000 players worldwide, and our sort of what we really are passionate about is that we use science to back our training drills so that we try to replicate virtual reality applications as close as possible to the real life sport so that we can guarantee transfer from the virtual reality world into the real world. So as you train in VR, you'll actually get better in real life as well. Outside of Clean Sheet Soccer, we also have an application called Dodgecraft. That's much more similar to defensive work you would see in rugby or American football, which is designed to train your evasion skills and your tackling abilities.
Brilliant. Hi, I'm Rajat Ojha. I'm the CEO of Gamitronics. Gamitronics is actually largely known for Party Night, the metaverse, which is very, very popular in India and the Middle Eastern market with 153 million users on the platform. And but now I'm here largely for DartsVR 2 Bullseye, the game we are making, which is a 16-player esports game of darts, and we're bringing the popular modes of darts here, but not just that, we are giving new touch to the reimagined version of all the kind of darts modes, which are because otherwise our competition is with $100 dart board, so we wanted to build something new, and especially with VR, the imagination and the creativity is there's no limit to that, so we wanted to exploit that, and this is the second edition of that. The first edition was done in 2016, early days of VR, and it was not such a big, huge success, but it did pretty good. But our claim to fame was the world's number one and world champion, Rob Cross and MVG of darts. They actually played our game and then they streamed it, which became kind of a seal of that the game is solid. And back then, of course, there were not too many VR headsets, but now the world is different, and we're coming with various options and various things, which we'll probably talk about this in this particular talk. So yeah, and here we are. Thank you so much for having me, by the way, Val. Yeah. And good panel.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for that. So, jumping into our first question, what's one thing you've done in your game to make the competitive experience fun, even for someone who's losing?
Okay, I will go first. So in Slap Fighter, it was the goal from the very beginning that every single match, every single duel, even if it's in a campaign mode or multiplayer, because we have both, it needs to be cinematic, needs to be like a blockbuster movie, and we are taking a lot of from pop culture teams. Yeah, so we have created not only like basic mechanics of slapping, dodging, and the movement, but we also added some superpower stuff. Yeah, so that with the unique bosses that we did, we have like over 12 different bosses that you can compete with, everything based on some pop culture tropes, with dynamic crowd reactions and everything what is happening, the slow-mos and stuff. I think it will make the experience like fun, and that was since the beginning the main goal. Yeah, to have like a, even if you lose, doesn't matter if you win or lose, you always feel like a main character in a movie. So
Okay, then I'm gonna take that. In Merlin's chess, chess is actually about winning and losing, but we are trying to make it more like a delightful experience for anyone, whether they are losing or winning. And we offer, animated battles. We offer voice commands. We offer a super annoying AI opponent. He's trying to annoy you, distract you, whether you are winning or losing. So we actually focused more on the gameplay and the vibe and the feeling than winning or losing. So players can, enjoy the game. Either they are super pro players or they're just beginners. They can enjoy a new way to play chess. To command your pieces with your voice commands, like you can do in movies like that. So we are trying to shift the focus from winning and losing to enjoying playing chess with someone else around the world, with some fantasy team, with innovative ways to play chess.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think an important thing to remember when learning a skill. I mean, this panel is about pro sport and VR and how do you become professional. And to really master a skill, there has to be some element of loss in there. But losing can also be very beneficial in the right context. It's actually how you learn faster by losing than you do by winning. Two things that come to mind really when I think of how you still make a game fun that still has to be inherently competitive. The first thing I'd say is accessibility. If your game is just too hard to begin with and you have no way of scaling back that difficulty, it's just not fun to play. There has to be some level of progression in there. For example, when we were making Clean Sheet Soccer, if you ever tried soccer goalkeeping in real life, the goals are huge. They're absolutely massive. So if you're playing in a small living room, having full-size goals isn't really going to be workable. So what we've done is we actually have the ability to scale the width and the height of the goal. That's really important because, for example, if you hopped into set play mode where we put in real-life motion captured strikers for you to play against, if you try to do that in the full-size goal right away, you would find it practically impossible. These shots are going fast, top corner. But if you scale down the goal size, you can go, actually, I'll start on this smaller goal size and work my way up. And there's something very fun about going, you know what, I've mastered this goal size. I'm going to progress up to the next difficulty. The other thing I think that's important, especially if you're finding a game where winning and losing is everything, is that you also have to have other facets to your game. For example, we don't only look at competitive play. We also create a game mode specifically for fitness and for socializing. And this is really important because a lot of people who play football don't play it just to win. Sometimes it's just to go out and have a kickabout with your mates and have a chat. Whether you win or lose is kind of irrelevant. It's more just having that social interaction. So we built in multiplayer mode specifically for that, so you can go and chat with your friends. And also quickfire mode in Clean Sheet Soccer is for fitness specifically. So it doesn't necessarily matter what you get. It's actually an endless runner. So it'll basically just keep going until you can see 10 goals. And the whole purpose of that isn't to survive as long as you can. It's more about how many calories can you burn in one session. So it doesn't really matter when you lose because you're going to be exhausted at the end of it. So I think that's what's really important when you're thinking about how do you still make something fun, but have the ability to maybe do it for fitness or maybe do it for more socializing. Having those different facets to the game is very important.
Awesome. So here you go. So darts has like various modes. The 501 is the most, purest form of darts, which is more like a simulation. So in simulation, it's a turn-based thing, right? It's not saying simulate multiplayer. So when one player is playing, the other one always has a screen where any shot, any action of the other player can be simulated for your learning purposes, and a lot of data is being shown to the user. So this can be used for your real darts experiences and improving your overall darting techniques. That's the pure side of that. But since it's a multiplayer and there's a lobby because we are waiting for other players to come, and most of the darts are in the bars, so we have a bar fight. So while you're waiting for other people to join, you can like pick bottles and put darts and start hitting each other, and you can spend some time. And then there are a lot of taunts which are there. And it's a pretty social experience, which darts by default is. So there's a full voice support, you can dance with people. So there's a party mode, which is very quick hop on, hop off mode, unlike, the lobby system of esports pure form. So if you go to the party, it plays the music of your actual headset, whatever is there. It can just pick any music, the equalizer and the DJ starts working, behaving like that. And now you're partying with people, you're talking, there's no win or lose. You just go 3 shots, just have some drink. It's like kind of its own metaverse sort of a thing, experience. You spend some time with your friends, just go chill. There's no stakes there. Quick hop on, a hop off system. Then there is one more mode we have, which is called Around the World. And Around the World is kind of like if you have played Tetris Effect. It's like that, which is like as you progress, the music and the entire world around you changes, a lot of particles and stuff and all that. So in that particular mode, I did not want any win or lose. You keep on, and so the idea is you hit one, then you hit two, then three, four. So you have to hit sequentially. As you are hitting, the music is getting built and the world is changing into particles. So it's very surreal, very meditative kind of game mode. And absolutely, no matter how many hits you want to do, you still win at the end of the day, because the music, what has happened, is created by you. So, and that's something what I wanted to give to my players, because as they say, darts is a symphony. So we wanted to build and bring that symphony to people. So right from taunting to bar fight to having a lot of data, understanding the mechanics of people, to building your music, there's a lot of things here for keeping everybody engaged. And then there is a zombie mode in party, so you can finally kill zombies with darts. So it's so much fun. most loved most loved mode in the game. Yes.
Okay,
That's why
awesome.
they call
Thanks
me
so
Darth
much,
Vader.
guys.
I just want to add something to what James said, and I like what James said, and I think we have something similar because we called it as accidental fitness. So it's basically a fitness type experience, but disguised as a fun. Yeah, and that's what James was saying, that even if you're losing, the game or the app should give you the option to build up your character, to find a way how to defeat the enemy. And of course, in the multiplayer, it's like a typical competitive. Yeah, you're fighting with a friend or fighting with someone else. But that was also not the problem, but something that we work on, because when we were first playing or creating the AI bot, the bosses that you are fighting in campaign mode, it turns out that some of them are too hard to compete with. Yeah, so we came up with the idea that if you defeat an enemy, you are collecting the superpower from it. So in the end, you can like have that only 3 out of 10 superpowers. So you can select which one suits you best, yeah, and you can use it in the multiplayer later on. So I think it's similar to what James is, that you can maneuver in the game and change the circumstances to find your like perfect way of playing the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think a lot of you are seriously utilizing that. 2 seconds. I have lost my footing. No, I think it's absolutely fantastic seeing the different methods you use to make the game competitive, even if someone isn't necessarily losing. Kind of even giving them that kind of secondary experience of, even just like you said, fitness. Even if you're not winning the game, you are still gaining from it, which is fantastic. That is really great. Okay,
Yeah,
so
because in the end, like everyone want to play for fun, yeah, and
yeah,
not everyone want to compete in the game, yeah. We have, of course, like esports players, pro players that just want to compete, yeah, but we creating games, we always need to remember about even casual players, yeah, and the game should be for everyone, yeah. So it
absolutely,
could be, yeah.
absolutely. Okay, awesome. So moving on to our next question, how do you think VR sports might help people who aren't super interested in traditional sports to get into competition and movement?
Who wants to start?
I can do that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, like I'm competing against the $100, dartboard, so that by default is, but what we have seen is absolutely interesting. And so right now we are testing with 453 test group because the game is in the, early testing stages and stuff. And half of those guys have never touched dart ever in their life, and half of them are like dart play. And that's how we actually kept the group. But just because the experience, and that's how I know we are differentiating with the traditional one, is that when you are actually playing dart, the feedback is the how people actually react to this thing and how you score and your competitive thing and stuff. But here, since it's a game, everything is over the top. When you hit a bullseye, a bull literally comes out, right, and gives you the accelerating feature. And since we are actually being, it's a great athletic sport because the kind of muscle and all those things you need to do, the precision, focus, discipline, and all that it brings in, and instantaneously you're seeing and getting the feedback of what you're doing and how it actually affects your game, is immediately yielding into somebody getting interested in the sports of darts. So, and just because, and in fact, what we have seen, IDC, which is in India, Indian Dart Championship, uh, they they are invited us over to actually showcase to the kids 16 schools with close to 50 students each got converted into the subscribe mode of the darts because they realized that this sport is way much more than just having some drinks and going and hitting something on the bullseye, because the kind of it's like any other sport you play. You need to have uh, tremendous amount of discipline, focus, and your muscle and the kind of precision you have. And that is something what we could actually execute and showcase with the game in with the real-time feedback. And of course, there is like easily about 12,000 people watching your game, right? And that their feedback and all that is already is pushing you to continue. And once you start seeing that you're doing amazing and you're doing something and you're seeing the bull coming out or you're seeing some particles changing, so there's a hard rock kind of a feel as if so you're on a big huge stage and people are applauding for you. There is instant conversion or a love for that actual sport, and you probably can transform into one. And that is something what we started seeing already. In fact, in the UK also, we are doing on May 29th, there is an event which we are part of, and similar exercises we are doing with the Guinness record and something and all that kind of thing. So all these things actually bring a lot of, I think the game is about instant gratification, right? The biggest thing what we actually provide as game designer, just like Mario, every single coin you tring, tring, that sound and all that, it's instant gratification. And once you see that, you feel that you are in there, which might be missing with the traditional sport initially, but once you fall in love with that whole thing, then this thing also becomes your natural progression to go in some place and compete against people and probably, have some fun. Yeah. So that's what we have been successfully doing now.
In my case, it's pretty easy. Yeah, because
Clever.
we did so many slab events, the real one. So I speak with so many people that they were like shocked of how slab fighting looks like. and I talked to so many people that, oh, I wish to try it, but I'm too afraid of. Yeah. So for us, it was obvious thing. Okay, VR is perfect for doing the slap fighting because it's safe, it's fun. Everyone want to do it, but nobody want to do it live. So we are giving the opportunity to do it in VR, and I think the slap fighting is supposed to be played VR in VR, not in real life. So yeah,
Yeah, this is
easy
not
question for
something you
me. Yeah.
can. This is not something you can easily do in your real life, right?
No, no,
No,
no.
no, no,
I'm
no,
I'm
no, no,
I'm
no, no.
Just,
I'm
just
always shocked with all the fighters that are competing in our federation. Yeah, balls of steel. So yeah.
I totally agree with that. I mean, we are very similar. Where, especially for the goalkeeping side, where goalkeeping is quite an intimidating position to start off with. You're having to dive, you're having to this big heavy leather ball being shot at you at 100 miles per hour. That's quite an intimidating experience. In fact, we actually worked recently with a London-based charity who were trying to develop young girl goalkeepers because they find it difficult to get young girls to get into that position where you have to jump and get yourself all mucky, and as I said, you have to deal with the ball coming towards you. So I think VR is really exciting for sport because it gives you that nice soft introduction. It might not even be potentially for intimidating sports. It can even be for cost prohibitive sports. For example, I've played tons of sports which would be quite expensive to play naturally. Like there would be tennis where I would have to rent it out of court. I played pickleball. I played pickleball exclusively in VR. I've yet to play it in real life. So there's these really, really great opportunities for people who maybe aren't so die hard that they want to go down and rent out a court, or in the case of us for goalkeeping, you need someone to actually serve the ball at you to be able to practice. But having VR, you don't need anyone. You can just do it in your own living room. We've had loads of reviews
Right.
and emails from young kids saying that my mum or dad can't be bothered to shoot the ball at me every day, all day. So having the VR to go in my bedroom and get additional reps is really quite powerful. So I really, really think that's important. The only other thing I'll say about the VR for people who aren't necessarily in traditional sports is the fact that you can scale difficulty so easily makes sports that have a high floor ceiling much more accessible. So, for example, I'll take tennis. Tennis, I can't serve the ball. I'm useless at serving, but VR makes it quite easy to serve. You only have to do that and that, and then off it goes. So there are sports that maybe you need a certain level of skill to even like golf's another one. Golf, I can barely swing the club in real life, but I can go into VR and play a full 18-hole round. There's certain sports which are made more accessible by making into VR. I think if people play VR sports enough and they really get into a certain game, it might just give them enough confidence to go, you know what, I'm competent enough in it in VR. I'm going to give a go at it in real life now as well. So I think VR is really, really exciting for that specific use case, to help people who maybe are a bit intimidated by real life sport, traditional structured sport, to maybe get a softer introduction into it.
Yep.
And I think what you can do in VR, you can bring players to different places. Yeah, you can rock climbing, bouldering, even playing chess. Yeah, you can play chess on the big stage. Yeah, something that is not. So nobody is able to do it on great stages. Yeah, you can be in the stadium. So this is VR. What can bring you? Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
And also about the competition side, sometimes too much competition, can keep people away from what they want to do in your game. You know, when just imagine that you want to join a chess tournament in real life, but if you're not that good, if you are a rookie, you usually want to learn more about chess. You want to exercise more, chess tactics or something before diving into a tournament or a real competitive play. So sometimes, VR games could be a really good starting point for anyone to play any competitive sports, including physical sports or mind
Yep.
sports like chess. And they can just exercise there. They can find their way to play that game, that sport. and they can, find coaches inside the game. They can get better quickly inside your game without diving into real life tournaments or online tournaments in a more competitive context. So when they, fear jumping into competitive environments before, feeling ready, maybe your game is a better place for them to be inside, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, I do think that all of those points are exactly why sometimes jumping into a sport or a competition in virtual reality is better than doing it in real life. If money, say, is the problem, well, sometimes, as you said, putting on a VR headset is going to be cheaper. Or danger, physical injury. In virtual reality, you're safe from that. Or if you're just afraid of the stage. Yeah, no, I absolutely do think that all of those are exactly why people choose to do VR esports rather than doing the actual thing. Okay, fantastic. So, what challenges have you faced in translating real world sport mechanics into virtual environments? And how do you overcome them?
Where to start?
I can
Oh,
imagine.
we all have.
Yeah, so many. I can start. I think the reason to do the slot fighting game was easy. Then those challenges were not easy. Yeah, because our game is a close combat game, and we have bot behaviors because we have like different bosses, and each one of them is different. Each one of them has different powers, different statistics, and bot is constantly moving. It's a dynamic game, yeah. So it's dodging, it's slapping, it's throwing elemental powers. So it's a lot of happening all the time during the fight. So the behavior, bot behavior was difficult for us to do, but we managed to do it. It should be like reactive and human-like, yeah. Because even if we are slapping, he's blocking or guarding or stuff, and there are so many different interactions between player and the bot. It's much easier in multiplayer, yeah, because we have two players that are just slapping each other, yeah. This is one thing that was challenging for us, timing and precision, because you need to feel the slapping or hitting or whatever, yeah. Interacting with the bot or the other player should be precise, and the timing should be precise, because you need to feel the strikes like a real impact. And I think the feedback to feel, because everyone asks us the question, yeah, okay, slapping is fun, you can slap, but how do you feel being slapped? Yeah, so all the things that we did regarding the VFX, SFX, those stuff changed the whole feeling of receiving the slap, all the effects on the screen, on the headset, showing you that you are damaged. Yeah, so those were the challenges that we managed to oversee. Yeah.
There you go. Who's going?
You can
Oh,
go.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So excited. So you know what these darts players call themselves? They call themselves dartists. So so just like every artist is unique, every art is unique. The way they hold and the way they throw is so unique. It's so difficult to find the middle ground where everybody is kind of okay. So we literally, if you go on Reddit and search DartsVR to Bullseye, you'll see 18,000 different trajectories posted by us, with every possible thing. We kept on posting it to the groups. People were commenting, oh no, this is like a slightly here, slightly there. This physics doesn't feel right. Oh my God, like, okay, too difficult to deal with these artists, So finally, so this was the biggest challenge, getting the physics right, which is always the problem with any and everything you do, especially wherever there is a trajectory involved, right? So but here, because you can be tall, you can be short, you can have a different hand style and throw. So all those kind of things. So we had a lot of calibration done, a lot of mathematics, and so we had a team in Lithuania which is just focused on getting the maths right. And for everything we do, so so that's exactly what was the first and the biggest problem we had. Finally, I can say that except 1% people, everybody's happy, they'll like it. The second thing is holding the dart in your hand, the feeling of holding it, because in other things it's okay, it just gets released immediately, but in dart you need to hold it for some time in your hand till you actually get the precision right. And when you are doing it, the kind of haptic you need to probably simulate there, because it's usually rough when you where you hold it from, right? So there's kind of perforated surface. So getting it right again was a challenge that you need to feel, even if you don't have a dart in your hand, but you need to feel that you have it, right? And this is something I learned from 11 VR people when they were doing the table tennis, right? So if you actually have the ball on your racket and you keep doing this, like you literally have it. And in fact, when Aslan was actually talking about, not being so good in the sport. My problem was different actually. I'm so good in ping pong, table tennis, that in my neighborhood I don't find anybody. So I actually have to get inside the VR and play with people who actually know and who can probably give me some competition. I don't have any competition around my area. So, anyways, so coming back to this, so the feeling of holding and the physics and the permutation combinations we had to actually create for that to get the whole thing right, and creating that Ellipelli, which probably in the UK is like the mecca of the darts player. The feeling, the music, the applause, the audience, all the kind of reaction, watching tons of videos and understanding how the crowd behaves, how crowd actually give the feedback for, and what makes you feel like you're going on the stage of darts, right? So the entire feeling. So creating that simulated version of that every single time and having a custom thing for most of the different kind of players was the third challenge. But I think I won't say we nailed it, but we are almost there. And I think we have to release with almost there only. You know, we cannot nail 100% for sure, but it's an iterative process. Will remain in the loop. Yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately, what's the core challenge? I think all of us are talking, about like the mechanics, the physics, the real. Ultimately, what we're trying to do here is do what's called representational practice. And what I mean by that is what you're doing in VR should reflect what happens in real life. The practice you do in VR should replicate the kind of practice you would do in the real world. And the further away those two things become, the less applicable and less useful your VR app is, because you can actually do the opposite. You can teach people bad habits in VR, which then they try and take into the real world, and then they actually find themselves getting worse at their sport. So it's really, really important, and that's why we obsess over the physics and the mechanics. Is we try to get it as accurate as we can. For example, in both our games, Dodgecraft and Clean Sheet, our sort of unique selling point is that we actually motion capture real life opponents doing their sport and then put it into the game. So when you're facing strikers in clean sheet soccer that are like, bending a free kick, that's a free kick that they actually took in real life. And then we've digitized it. And the reason we do that is because the way that player shapes their body, the way the ball leaves the foot, that's all cueing that you're using to anticipate where that ball is going to go. If the person shaped their body in a certain direction and the ball went the opposite way, you're teaching them bad habits that they'll take into real life and go, well, when he shaped his body, the ball should have went that way. I saw that in VR, and that's what should have happened. So it's the same in Dodgecraft, for example. So in Dodgecraft, it's essentially a linebacker simulator or a fullback simulator in rugby. So you're standing in the last line of defense, and we have virtual AI opponents that are trying to sidestep you. So they're moving one direction and then going the other to try and juke you and make you sort of anticipate the wrong direction. If we tried to hand animate that, it would become very predictable, and you would learn, okay, when they shape their body that way, I have to go that way. But because they're real life motion captured athletes who are the top level of their sport, you could see that 100 times and still get duped by it. And I think that's the power of VR sport, and that's the real technical challenge, is trying to replicate what is it about the mechanics or the environments that make that sport truly unique, and how you put that into a bottle and digitize it for VR. And that is a technical challenge. And the sports that do it very, very well, and the sports that you're all playing and enjoying, have managed to recreate that sense of real life practice in VR.
The very last one. Okay. Cool. So should we just do that one now, or like? Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you all so much for your answers. How do you see VR technology influencing the future of professional sports training and competition over the next 5 years?
That will take the lead position according to me, because that's where
Exactly.
It's an important one.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can clearly see that happening. Imagine the high you'll get, playing against the best of the best from different parts of the world, sitting in your bedroom, or and practicing with them, playing with them, competing with them, and the amount of audience size you're gonna get with that is another big number. So our first darts was streamed by Sky and Betway, both Sky Sports and Betway. The kind of audience we got, and that was just the start, 2016. Come on, like we are sitting on 2025. Next 5 years are going to be. I'm pretty sure if we do it right, if we release right, I can talk about my game at this moment. I'm pretty sure VRDC is going to be bigger than PDC. PDC is the Pro Darts Championship, which has the second highest audience viewing after soccer in the world. And VRDC is my virtual reality darts championship. So, and that has all the reasons to be, because I can bring the biggest of the players on the platform from whichever part of the world. No matter what pandemic, what this, what that. And no excuses. And probably there'll be a level playing field, because somebody sitting somewhere who never got a chance to be up there on the stage just has an access to the, probably by then it will be $199 device, something like that, will have access to that and be able to play and compete against the biggest of the players, just like how Luke Littler changed the darts, dethroned some of the biggest players in the world, 17-year-old kid, number one today in darts. The same thing can happen, pretty sure. I'm pretty sure about that. This is definitely the future. Not sure 5 years, but uh, by 2035 for sure, 100%. Darts, 2030. Yes.
And I think it's also about accuracy, because if your experience getting closer to the real life experience
Yep.
player might have in a particular sport, I think it's gonna start replacing the real experience more and more until a certain threshold. For our case, chess is more like a static game, and a serious game, and usually people play it in a physical way. But now we are seeing a transition in the chess industry, like chess is becoming an esport, and it's even included in this year's esports World Cup in Riyadh. And now people organizing more chess esports tournaments, and some of them actually happening online. So, and we are also seeing some different approaches to that tournament and competition mindset. Like Magnus Carlsen is supporting a new chess variant called freestyle chess, and they are organizing new and digital events for that. So I really think that there's a huge potential for VR games and VR sports to be a replacement for real life versions, you know probably until some threshold. So in next 5 years, I strongly believe that we will see more and more sports and any kind of competitive things to be included in VR and replacing the real life versions for majority of people, probably, because high level competitions, tournaments, and all the championships are for mostly for professionals, but there are huge number of players around the world who are not professionals, but they are into that game. So I really see a huge potential for a future on that. And on the chess context, we really position modern chess as a digital version of any kind of chess championship, chess tournament, and a chess experience you can have in your real life.
Yeah, I'm super curious, like because you said about the chess, and I see a lot of influencers playing chess on Twitch and online, and it's becoming huge. Yeah, a lot of new influencers happening. So yeah, I'm thinking about when, because the question is about the next 5 years. The question is basically, is the VR gonna be in the mainstream one day? Yeah, because if it's gonna become mainstream, then we are working on solutions or games that will be there, yeah, in 5 years. So I think we are in a position where we can like create something and just wait for the technology to be in the mainstream. Yeah, we are doing a test right now because like we have the experience in doing live events, and on our upcoming event, the SFC event, we want to do a first time a test with the VR players be on stage. Yeah, we want to introduce them as our real fighters, and show on the LED screens the recap from the game, and we want to test the first like multiplayer match on during the live event that will be on YouTube and on Facebook. So I think us as a creators or game owners, it's on us to like not only do the game but also do the marketing and do something about it. Yeah, because we will have like a huge fan base, we will have a lot of players, but if we don't create an opportunity for them, yeah, or like for example, we have the competitive or much multiplayer mode in our games. So what that we have, yeah, if we don't create an opportunity for them to play and maybe earn some rewards or even be on the event, yeah, because we want them to practice, to be on stage or to win something, yeah. So I think we should give them an opportunity to actually win something, to become huge in this game, in this industry. So yeah, I think we should like create events or events, online or offline events, that will make people play those games. This is what I think. Yeah.
Definitely. It's a transition, and I feel like we should lead the way for our players to let them know what's possible inside this medium beyond their knowledge with the real life experiences.
Yep. Yeah. James,
Okay,
what do
cool.
you think about it?
Yeah. James, do you want to add to that?
I'm going to take maybe a slightly controversial stance on this. Sometimes I think this question's misleading. This idea that VR has to replace. VR doesn't have to replace anything. The two things, real sport and VR sport, can exist in perfect harmony and completely independent of each other. If anything, that's a good thing. We want the elites to come into VR, because if the elites come into VR and they remain elite, then the VR players are looking up and going, so if I play this, I can get to that level, So I think that's really important. It's why I keep going on about representational practice in VR versus the real world. Someone who's the best in the world at their real sport should come into VR and be a pretty high level in VR. And I really think that's where we need to get to with VR esport, is that we need the sporting bodies, these organizations and these elite athletes. It's like what you're saying about the likes of Rob Cross playing darts. That's brilliant. Because it shows people that go, oh, actually the pros are buying into this idea and this concept. And I think that's where I want to get to with VR sport, is that, you should still be an athlete in your sport in VR. If if somebody who has never played the sport or, has only played video games can pick up your game and be the best in the world at it within 2 weeks, there's something fundamentally wrong there. There should be skill ceilings in these VR games, and you should just have the same amount of dedication and skill sets bringing from the real world into VR. So that's kind of my stance. The other thing I'm very excited about in the pro space is mixed reality. You're seeing a lot of sports games integrate mixed reality into their apps. For example, we have integrated mixed reality into Clean Sheet Soccer, and what we did was we took a semi-professional goalkeeper, we took them to a real life 3D pitch that was just completely empty and devoid, and then we layered everything about professional football into that pitch. So the virtual goal, the virtual players, the virtual walls, and we were watching him dive and make these top corner saves. And because he was so good in real life, he was able to pick up the VR headset and go, you know what, I'm actually really good at this already because it's close to real life. And that's kind of where I would like to see it in 5 years, is that you almost have these parallel leagues. You've got the real life league and then the VR league. And if you have the same athletes participating in both, then I think that's an amazing thing for the sport. Or maybe you get these unique opportunities where maybe somebody's like a B-tier athlete in the real sport, but they just managed to graft it enough in the VR that maybe they're elite in that sport. But what I'm saying is, what I don't want to see is somebody who is basic level in real life, but they're elite in the VR. That suggests to me there's a disparity there. So that's kind of my slightly controversial take on where I hope to see the space in 5 years.
I can definitely agree with this, because if we can see this in sim racing as well. Yeah, we have sim racing setups, so you can play Assetto Corsa, for example, and we have like drivers. I know the guy who was, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think he was a young kid. He was a sim racer, so he became like a champion of sim racing, and he has his spot in F2 or F3 in Porsche. So yeah, he became a sim racer and then became a real driver. Yeah, so I think VR can do the same. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also definitely there's a huge, potential for crossplay as well. For, if it's applicable in your game or, in your sports. But, just imagine people playing with each other from multiple mediums, one from real life, one from VR. And if your game is, somewhere compatible for that kind of mechanics, I think that could be, really game changer as well.
Yeah.
And absolutely, and I think I agree on the skill ceiling part, because I think in VR it's very difficult to fake it or ace it just like that. I think if it's with a controller, like I can play great FIFA with my controller, but doesn't mean I can actually play soccer on the field. But in VR, because the kind of the physics, the being presence there, kind of thing, is very difficult to fake it. I think it's the skill ceiling will always remain. So I totally agree with James here. So. And I think, it's a cool place. Yep, we are wrapping it up.
100%. Well, thank you so much, guys. This was a great conversation.
Absolutely.
I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. But that's going to be it for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.